Ladies and gents, welcome back. We are about to go into the grand final of the Altitude TeamLiquid Invitational. For any of you who have not played the amazing Altitude indie game, definitely do so. If you have fingers and love blowing things up, it will be your favorite game of all time. I am Sean Day9 Plot, and joined as always by my lovely co-caster Chill. Are you as pumped as I am?
Yeah, I'm actually super pumped. I hate to say it, I feel like that last series was a little bit of a disappointment, especially because TLO is one of my most favoritist, creativist players, and he really didn't show it in that series. But now we're moving on to this fantastic PvZ. I think I'm always biased for matchups involving Z. I feel like TVZ and PvZ are some of the most exciting matchups, and we've got a PvZ coming up, especially when IdrA's involved, because he doesn't do anything like kind of cutesy. You know it's just going to be a huge battle, like two battering rams ramming into each other, and I'm really, really interested to see how TesteR deals with it.
Yeah, definitely. I do think that image of two rams, like on the Discovery Channel, just wrestling each other's antlers around, definitely what this match is going to be like. TesteR, very creative, using a lot of these high-level plays, getting the hallucination very quickly against White Ra, getting blink very quickly against White Ra. Definitely on the American servers, predominantly, players have a tendency to want to sit a little bit passively, get the good composition, and then move out with that. They want to be left alone until they have the right-looking army, and that's when they're in their comfort zone. But of course, a lot of the players on the Asia server are known for being outrageously aggressive. So we see very fast blink plays. We see Zerg players not really getting that many drones, favoring aggression with Zerglings and Roaches early on instead. And we definitely see that TesteR has been raised in that school of thought. So very curious to see how he's going to deal with IdrA's ultra super crazy solid style.
Right, and the other thing that's interesting to me is when IdrA was playing against Terran, we were seeing a lot of Roach play, almost no Hydras. I don't think we saw a single Hydra the entire match. But now we're going into ZVP, and we're probably going to see a lot more Zerglings and a lot more Hydralists. So we're going to see the other side of IdrA's play. And in this matchup, using the Hydras, the Infestors become super, super important. So, you know, it's always cool to see the other facet of someone's play.
So let's go ahead and jump directly into Game 1. It is a Zerg vs. Protoss on Lost Temple. We are loading it up right now. Something to note, in Noni against IdrA in the HDH tournament, there was almost exclusively Hydralisks built by IdrA, who, like you were saying earlier, was a Roach-oriented player. The game has just now started. We have, it appears that TesteR is spawning in the top as the red Protoss, and at the right position we have IdrA spawning as the blue Zerg. And I think that's pretty significant to note, that IdrA really loves those Roaches, especially in the early stages of the beta, and it really seems that those recent changes have forced him to wrangle away from Roaches in some of the other matchups. He still is going predominantly Roaches against Terran, but interested to see if he's figured out a way to pull it off against other Protoss players. So it looks like IdrA is going to be getting an Overlord on 9. Interesting choice, considering IdrA used to be favoring the 10 Overlord plus Extractor trick.
Oh, really? Yeah, I saw a thread on TeamLiquid that showed there's almost no benefit to 10 Overlord after Extractor Trick as opposed to 9 Overlord. It actually argued that 10 Overlord without the Extractor Trick is the worst of the three. So since I saw that, I've been switching over to 9 too. So I'm a convert as well. But something I wanted to mention as you were bringing up the Noni against IdrA match from the HDH, a lot of people were predicting that IdrA cannot adapt to your Roachless Zerg play, basically. And something that was so impressive to me about that match was how sick his timings were on the Hydras. He just pumped out so many drones and then had just the perfect switch into Hydras. And we see him now going, you know, until, as I said, the day he dies, 14 pool. Surely we're going to see a 15 hatchery. And it's interesting as well that TesteR is putting down a pretty late gateway here.
Yeah.
I believe that was a late 13 gate.
Yeah, I mean, very unusual play by TesteR. Oh, please build another gateway. Please build another gateway. Yes, indeed. He's going for the 2-gate opening. Super economic 2-gate opening. Nothing crazy like 11-gate, 12-gate, which is my opening of choice in this matchup. But very unusual in this matchup to be getting a first gateway so late, or even to be getting a pylon on the high ground and then going for some sort of 2-gate opening. Players absolutely love doing that 10-gate at the ramp, but we see TesteR has some experience with the 2-gate school of thought. So IdrA, it's trying to plant that hatchery, gets delayed a little bit by this probe, but nothing too major going down right now. IdrA, of course, pool is done. He is getting that queen up, making more Zerglings. So this 2-gate push might deal some significant damage. Zealots are not very good when you have 1, but once you start getting to 2 or more, it is so much stronger. And the double chrono boost on the gateway is going to be getting those up super quickly. So I love this opening by TesteR, and I'm going to be very interested to see how well this works with that huge delay on the second gateway.
Yeah, I'm interested to see that too, and I found 2-gate in this game is way more dangerous than in Brood War. I think the Zergling to Zealot ratio is definitely not 3 to 1. It seems to be like 3 1/3 or something like that to 1. So you can kill a lot more Zerglings with Zealots. They're also easier to micro. IdrA trying to move in here, taking some shields off of that Zealot. Third Zealot coming in, and this is when it starts to get interesting, when you have 3 Zealots and the probe, with 2 more coming in as TesteR does. So let's take a look at the micro here. It's all going to come down to how he can control this. The Queen out to give a little support to IdrA, but he can't really get a spine crawler down here until the creep comes. TesteR pulling back. Looks like he wants to wait for 2 more, and that's probably going to be the time when he strikes before IdrA can benefit from this expansion.
Loving this timing right now by TesteR. He's already getting set up for another expansion, and look, already the food differential is pretty big. It was 35 to 23, but right now those 4 larvae just popped off in the main, and here comes TesteR. He is trying to pull some of these Zerglings off. Doesn't want to overcommit yet. Expansion now going down for TesteR long before any forge gets started. We see a gas going down as well. Such fancy play by TesteR. The fact that he's being so aggressive, he can actually skip this forge and just use Zealots for defense. Here comes another probe towards the expansion. Probably going to be throwing down a pylon to throw up cannons because you do need those eventually. But this is incredibly aggressive play by TesteR. And here comes IdrA with a bunch of Zerglings. Oh my god. I do not know if I like this. What is he doing? That's so many Zerglings. And he's trying to engage. Oh my god. Gigantic mistake by IdrA. Oh my god. Horrible play to try to move in there. It's just going to get annihilated. And 0 Zealots lost and has to pull back. And look at all the blood peppering the ground. Ugh. Rough spot for IdrA.
The game's actually gotten very simple for TesteR now. He doesn't need to get cannons. He can get, like we see, he's getting the cybernetics core, and he can really comfortably get that expansion up. Just continue to produce Zealots and really move into the mid game quite a bit ahead of IdrA in my mind. Zerglings in this game seem a little bit weak compared to what they were like in StarCraft 1. You know, if that battle had happened in StarCraft 1, it would have been a clear win for the Zerglings. But I found myself having to, consciously remind myself they're not as good as that game, and you can lose a lot of battles. And look at TesteR sneaking this probe into IdRA's main. How did that happen? So you can take a look at what tech IdrA has. You can see he's still on hatchery tech. Take a look at the geysers and figure out how he's going to counter this Zerg player.
And look at these Zerglings running and taking it out, but you know what? IdrA only just now has started mining gas, so literally 0 tech deviations have occurred for IdrA. He is getting that very early creep tumor, so we can expand the creep and of course continuing to vomit larvae. Warp gates coming out right now for TesteR. He is getting more gateways up. Very curious to see how he's going to follow up after he takes this expansion. It looks like he's getting a lot of warp gates. Would like to see 2 geysers go down at that expansion relatively soon, because again, sentries are such a strong unit for the fact that they cost pretty much just gas. 50 minerals, very, very, very cheap. And IdrA doing the smart thing after building up this gigantic Zergling force. Doesn't want to leave it useless for the rest of the game. He's going to take down these destructible rocks very early on. Probably take a quick 3rd base before he gets roaches.
I feel like if TesteR just goes off these 4 bases with warp gates, builds up a lot of units and attacks, I don't think IdrA can defend it unless he tries to avoid the issue by either countering or goes for some sort of hard counter, like putting out a bunch of Banelings to deal with the Zealots. That's the only way I can really see him dealing with this. With the 2 geysers coming up at the expansion now, and the robotics coming out, I mean, we can see Immortals and eventually a lot of Sentries coming out. And that Sentry Zealot heavy army in the early to mid game is just so powerful against Zerglings. I just don't know what IdrA can do to defend that. Looks like he's trying to put down an evolution chamber. Lair just finished. Probably going to be putting down a Hydralisk den, but just waiting to see where it is.
Ooh, it's going to be a really late Hydralis Den. It looks like IdrA is going to try to respond by making a ton of Zerglings, but there's the Hydralis Den going down. But this is such a huge force by TesteR. He has so many Zealots from going 2-gate early on, and he is making a lot of units out of those 4 Warp Gates. We do see an Immortal and an Observer are on the way. Very typical big push coming out right now for TesteR. He checks the goal, doesn't see anything there. IdrA trying to make more Zerglings, but might just want to save up for a few seconds to try to spawn some Hydralis. Uh-oh, looks like a big Zergling counterattack going on by IdrA, but TesteR is going to be more than okay. Look at all these Zerglings running up. Yes, I do not think so. He will be backing up. But, TesteR, I really like this opening by him. I really like how aggressive he was with the 2-gate, but more importantly, how he saved up so much money by ending up with that second gate around 15 food instead of getting it at 12 food or so. So very, very nice 2-gate and very nice follow-up. IdrA picking off this one Zealot and then happily expanding.
Yeah, I'm also very glad that IdrA didn't commit to the attack there. It's so easy to run in and say, you know, there's only 3 Zealots, a Stalker, and a Sentry, I'll commit. And then a force field goes down, the Zealots get microed a little bit, and you lose half your army, and you lose any semblance of map control. So it's nice that he can just run in there, fake an attack, and pull the army of TesteR back. And we can see TesteR is pretty happy to just sit at his natural. IdrA's got this speedy Overlord in the main, taking a look at what TesteR's got, and looks like he's ready to move out with his first Immortal, putting down a Forge. I really like this, so he can drop maybe a few cannons to help defend, and we can see he's also warping in a few units at his natural just to help defend, now pushing out. Just in case there were any Zerglings running in there, he would be able to deal with that, and going to be adding his Robotics Bay now, so that's when things get a little dirty for IdrA. Once those Colossi start getting out in any sort of number, it's really hard if you're behind in the game and you don't have the economy advantage to be able to get back. And wow, big army pushing forward now for TesteR.
I know. Here comes a big engagement. Oh, these Stalkers get caught at a really bad angle. The Zerglings are annihilating these Stalkers, and the Hydralis are sweeping around and do a ton of damage as well. And ooh, these Zerglings getting a little bit over eager, but there are so many Hydralis by IdrA. IdrA putting up a perfect defense, is way ahead in the food count. Wow, Tide's really swinging back. I love that TesteR started out with almost all Zealots from that early push and is now replacing them with more and more and more Stalkers. Love that transition. Here's one Colossi coming out. There's the range going out. Of course, the Chrono Boost is saved up, so that will be able to get researched very quickly, and a second robotics facility going down as well. Wow, he loves getting those Colossi up. And, you know, in contrast to these American and European players who generally favor expanding, sort of camping, hanging out, and then getting the Colossus and moving out with it, we see TesteR first moving out with that big Zealot push, then moving out with the 4 Warp Gate Immortal push, and now he's going to push out again with the Colossi. The Colossi are coming out later, but they're just very, very dangerous in this like last iteration because the Zerg has just been in so much trouble throughout the early stages.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said for just pushing out, creating space, and you know, every time you move out and force your opponent to make units, those aren't drones. And that's how IdrA gets his advantage, is just pumping out as few units as he can, turning them all into drones, and then kind of gearing up once he gets up to speed in the mid-game. I really like what IdrA is doing with these creep tumors. He's really spreading his creep all over the map. We can see he's got this road, and he's got his queen just moving around, queued up to spread a few tumors around, and that really helps you, especially with Hydras. They move really slowly, but you need to get your creep out to give a little control. Oh man, with the first Colossus out, and it looks like, no, he's actually going to make an Immortal. He's not going to make a second one out of the second Robotics. That seems a little strange to me. You don't really need Immortals if you can afford the Colossi, at least in my eyes. So with 2 Colossi here, and a third one coming, this might be a little bit difficult for IdrA. He's going to have to set up a nice a nice flank, and he's got a few Corruptors to help him with the Colossi.
Oh my god, look at those huge force fields going down, cutting those Hydralis in half. Looks like these Corruptors are doing significant damage to these Colossi, but oh my god, IdrA's trying to engage too early on with his Hydralis, and look at the Zealots are going to be able to just rip through these Hydra numbers. These Colossi need to fall before IdrA can properly engage, and look at all the Zealots just cleaning up these Hydralis, making short work. There are just Corruptors, and it is a ton of gateway units out right now for TesteR. Look at the amount of pain that he's bringing down with this huge force. Those Colossi did a great amount of damage before they fell. IdrA engaged just a touch too early, and with these Hydralis reinforcements, he's going to try to pull something off, but it looks like this timing push was just a little bit too strong by TesteR.
Yeah, and Gateway units fall actually really quickly to Hydralisk, so there's the GG. Had IdrA just been able to either get more Hydras out or held off, like you said, just a little bit longer to let those Corruptors take out the Colossi and then engage, those units would have fell a lot more quickly. But those, the swipes, every swipe from 3 Colossi just kills so many Hydras.
Absolutely. I mean, they are so strong against Hydralisks that you have to be so careful to engage. I mean, so many players are favoring the Hydralisks over the Roaches. Both are 2 food. So if you have a maxed army on Hydralisk, you feel like you're in much better shape than if you have a maxed army on Roaches. But the range of the Colossus and the fact that they can take the Hydralisk out so fast make it just a really scary choice. You do need a lot of Corruptors to be okay. And more importantly, you need to be able to use that corrode ability by the Corruptors, or I guess is it still called corruption? It is. You need to be using your corruption aggressively to make all those units just a little bit squishier, take a little bit more damage, and I think that would have been the big key that could have turned the tides of the battle, is the corruption, a little bit more patience, because honestly, everything else about IdrA's build was phenomenal. The timing, getting that +1 carapace, having the units, the expansion, it was all great, but I mean, just too strong of a push by TesteR.
Yeah, and it all came from that strong 2-gate in the original, start of the game, where he pushed out, he wasn't forced to make the forge, and everything fell from that. Had IdrA been able to defend a little more aggressively, or maybe defend with less Zerglings and pump out more drones, it would have been more even. But he didn't actually build a forge, TesteR didn't, until he was upwards of 100 supply, and I think that really pushed everything forward a little, let him get more workers more quickly, and that's why that push just came a little bit more quickly than IdrA was ready for. I do want to say that I'm surprised how quickly IdrA bounced back. In that first battle, before the Colossi were there, I was surprised how well he did there and how easily he was ready for that. So that was shocking, and I mean, had TesteR waited, I want to say, like just another 45, maybe 60 seconds, I feel like IdrA would have had a much better chance defending that. So big props to IdrA for bouncing back from, I think he was at a very, very clear disadvantage out of the early game.
Yeah, definitely. And we will be bouncing into Game 2 in just